tablets are probably one of the oldest form of written record that we have. They've been translated, and they tell exciting stories about how gods intermingled with human beings and actually had a hand in the creation of human beings.
I just translated a newly found Sumerian tablet, and the warning is terrifying.
It's been hiding underneath.
So no one's seen that writing for 4,000 or 5,000 years?
Yeah.
What if a message carved in clay 7,000 years ago was never meant for the people who lived back then? What if it was meant for us, for the first generation with machines capable of reading it? Because today, an AI system has finally decoded a buried Sumerian tablet.
I'm holding in my hand here a document written more than 4,000 years ago.
And the warning inside it is unlike anything historians ever imagined. The story begins in the ruins of ancient Nippur, a city that once housed one of the oldest temple libraries in human history. For decades, archaeologists sifted through its rubble, uncovering more than 40,000 shattered clay fragments, most of them simple records, grain inventories, trade logs, temple offerings. But then, during a routine restoration project, something caught a researcher's eye, a fragment that didn't belong. At first glance, it looked like any damaged tablet, burned around the edges, chipped in the center. But when the team ran hyperspectral imaging, a scan so sensitive it reveals what the naked eye cannot, everything changed. The tablet had layers, not accidental marks, not cracks from time, but intentional depths, like someone had written a message, covered it, and then written something else on top. And buried in that deeper layer was writing that had not been seen for 5,000 years, since the very moment it was pressed into wet clay by the hand that created it.
Foreign researchers finally returned to discover more of the country's millennial-old cultural treasures.
Unlike most economic or religious tablets, this one showed no sign of being a record, no list, no tribute, no ritual instruction. Its symbols were sharper, more calculated, as if pressed not by hand, but with a tool, something almost mechanical. Even the clay was wrong. Mixed into it were traces of sediment that only form after massive environmental disruption, a sign that this tablet was created immediately following a major flood, volcanic shift, or cosmic event. No one knew it yet, but they were staring at a message left behind by a civilization that sensed something coming. Something catastrophic, something repetitive, something that, if their warning is right, is happening again. For a century, scholars of ancient Mesopotamia struggled to decode damaged tablets. Sumerian was complex.
One by one, and the reader has to join them up, and the sound emerges from the clay. This is the line that says, I am Kurash, Shar-Kishati, king of the world, the great king, king of Babylon.
Symbols had multiple meanings. Grammar changed by region, and a single sign could mean grain, life, or death, depending on placement. But where humans saw confusion, the AI saw patterns. This wasn't a simple language, it was coded. The AI began analyzing the spacing between symbols, gaps so small most historians assumed they were cracks from aging. But the machine detected something astonishing, a mathematical pattern hidden inside the empty space.
Plimpton 322 is arguably the most interesting, most sophisticated mathematical document from the ancient world.
The AI's processors hummed for days, churning through patterns no human eye could ever see. Its objective, a 3,700-year-old Babylonian tablet named Plimpton.
A structure matching modulo prime number sequences, the same kind of logic used in modern error-correcting algorithms. Someone had embedded a second layer of information, deliberately invisible to the human eye. Line by line, the AI uncovered three simultaneous translations. Number 1, literal meaning, the surface-level story. Number 2, numerical meaning, symbols converted into the Sumerian base 60 system. Number 3, astronomical meaning, where each symbol corresponded to a planetary alignment or cosmic event. No ancient civilization should have been capable of encoding at this level. But the more the system read, the clearer the truth became.
Valuable treasures of the British Museum.
So we have this very interesting interaction between these languages. We think that the text probably originally is a Greek text because to honor the pharaoh as a god.
This tablet was never meant for ancient Sumerians. It was created for a mind that didn't exist yet. A mind made from clay and silicon. A machine. One of the earliest lines the AI translated sounded poetic. When the black sun rises, the clay will speak its name. The sky's measure turns once more. For generations, scholars dismissed this as mythological metaphor. The AI did not. Black sun was identified as the precise astronomical moment of solar occlusion, the darkest phase of a total solar eclipse. Sky's measure referred to the ecliptic tilt, the oscillation of Earth's axis. And clay will speak suddenly carried two meanings. Humans, in Sumerian belief, were formed from clay. And modern computers, at their core, rely on silicon, a mineral formed in ancient clay layers. The message wasn't poetic. It was literal. The Sumerians had embedded a prophecy that only an AI, a being made from clay, trained in language, math, and astronomy, could decode. A time-lock message, waiting thousands of years for the only reader capable of understanding it.
This little piece of clay from the library's collections is packed full of information from 4,200 years ago.
A civilization watching the stars with impossible accuracy. To most people, ancient stargazers are imagined as priests drawing constellations on sand. But Sumerian astronomy was shockingly advanced. They created the 360-degree circle, 60-minute hours, base 60 mathematics, all of which are perfect for tracking planetary cycles. The AI found that several tablets previously thought to be star lists were actually cyclical datasets, records of cosmic rhythms repeated over centuries. One phrase appeared across many tablets, always in connection with changes in the sky. The gate of Anu turns red. In modern scientific terms, this may represent aurora events, geomagnetic storms, or increased solar particle activity. In other words, the Sumerians were recording space weather thousands of years before modern science. But one object on the tablet defied all expectations. Most celestial bodies on the tablet could easily be matched to visible planets: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and of course the Sun and Moon. But one did not fit. It was described as Enlil's star, the one who returns from darkness. Not a steady orbit, not a predictable path. A body that comes close only once every several thousand years. For decades, some speculated this was Nibiru, a mythical rogue planet. But the AI's cross-analysis suggested something scientific: a long-period comet, or a massive trans-Neptunian object, or even a planetary body on an extreme elliptical orbit. Whenever this object returned, the Sumerians recorded fire beneath the waters, the sky turning red, and the cycles of the Earth resetting. These events correspond with spikes in cosmic radiation found in ice cores, magnetic field disturbances, and mass extinction timelines. It appeared the Sumerians had detected a cosmic rhythm, a cycle of destruction that modern scientists are still piecing together. And according to the decoded message, the cycle is not over. One of the strangest Sumerian texts tells of King Enmerkar, a ruler obsessed with preserving knowledge.
An astounding artifact. It's referred to as WB44, the Sumerian King's List. On one panel, it tells us about 8.
The tablet describes how he built great libraries and stored secrets for the people of the distant future. The reason? Because they will face what we faced. For years, this sounded like typical mythic exaggeration. But one particular line never made sense until AI decrypted its fragmented symbols. The danger comes not from the sky, but from men who act like gods. If this doesn't mirror the age of artificial intelligence, biotechnology, geoengineering, and nuclear power, nothing else does. And Merkur wasn't warning about comets or divine beings. He was warning about us. About human beings gaining power faster than they gain wisdom.
So these are new pieces of the puzzle, and we can add them to our greater picture.
Flood myths exist in nearly every culture. For centuries, scholars called them exaggerations, stories told around the fire. But when AI compared Sumerian flood descriptions to geological data, the alignment was immediate. The fragment referenced water rising past the temple steps, flame in the sky, the wise vanishing before the disaster. And sediment samples from the Persian Gulf show a massive flood, around 5,200 BCE, sudden, violent, filled with volcanic ash, and marked by burnt organic materials. A solar flare? A comet impact? A volcanic chain reaction? Whatever it was, it matched perfectly with the Sumerian warnings. Even more disturbing were ice core samples from both poles, showing a spike in cosmic radiation at the same time. The Sumerians weren't telling stories. They were documenting a real event, and the newly decoded tablet suggests they believed it would happen again. The tablet's symbols weren't unique.
Researchers from Tel Aviv University and Ariel University say they've created a new AI model that's able to translate Akkadian texts written in cuneiform into English. Akkadian was a language used by multiple Mesopotamian imperial administrations, like the Assyrians and the Babylonians, from the 3rd millennium BCE until the...
AI found 37 identical or near-identical glyphs in civilizations that supposedly had no contact with Sumer. Harappan scripts from the Indus Valley, Quipunat systems from ancient Peru, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Jomon-era Japanese pottery spirals. The match rate was statistically impossible to call coincidence. Some glyphs even contained mathematical encoding, similar to early digital checksums. But the strangest discovery wasn't the symbols. It was the materials. Traces of Bolivian tin, Himalayan mica, were found inside the Nippur fragment, materials used in ritual objects across the world. Measurement units across civilizations also aligned. The Sumerian cubit matched the Harappan length unit within less than 1%. Sky arc measurements matched Incan solar stone carvings. The evidence pointed to one conclusion. This tablet wasn't just a warning for Sumer. It was one node in a global system, a broadcast encoded across the Earth. Then the machine found something chilling. A series of strange numerical clusters that didn't resemble language at all. At first it seemed random, until AI mapped the intervals. They aligned perfectly with the known cycles of geomagnetic reversal, 10-year fluctuations, 11-year solar cycles, 60-year magnetic oscillations, and when combined, they pointed to the average interval of 12,000 years, the timing of Earth's last magnetic pole reversal. And the Sumerians recorded the cycle as if it had happened in their living memory. One line read, "When the sky's iron turns, the old world dies and the new rises." Iron, in later Akkadian texts, is also the word used for magnetic force. Turns means inverts. The final meaning is clear. The Sumerians knew about magnetic pole shifts thousands of years before modern science, and they warned the next shift would come during a period marked by increased solar activity, back-to-back solar anomalies, and weakening magnetic fields, all of which are happening right now. The Sumerians understood something modern civilization often refuses to accept. Every rise contains the seed of its fall, and every fall creates the path for another rise. Their tablets weren't desperate cries from the past. They were blueprints, observations, and warnings carved into clay so they could survive longer than any kingdom, any monument, or any technology. Because clay does not burn. Clay does not corrode. Clay does not forget. After the fall of Earth 3, after Akkad, after Eridu, after Lagash, after centuries of destruction, invasion, drought, famine, and migration, one thing survived. The tablets, the stories, the warnings, the knowledge they believed future civilizations would need. One of the final texts scholars attribute to late-period Sumerian scribes contains a haunting lesson. A king may fall, a city may turn to dust, but the hand that writes for tomorrow outlives them all. It is an eerie realization that the Sumerians were not merely recording history.
And they're described as translators. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't say which languages they're translating between.
They were writing for us. The cycle of civilization reset. When AI models compared Sumerian cycles with collapses from later civilizations, Egypt's first intermediate period, the Late Bronze Age collapse, the fall of the Indus Valley, the collapse of the Mayans, an astonishing pattern emerged. Civilizations fall for the same handful of reasons, repeated endlessly. Severe climate shifts, leaders ignoring warnings, overpopulation or resource depletion, extreme inequality, political fragmentation, technological misuse or overreach. The model produced a terrifying insight. The timeline humanity is on right now mirrors the period immediately before the Bronze Age collapse. That collapse plunged the ancient world into darkness for centuries. Today, the stakes are global. But the Sumerians did not believe collapse was the end of the story. Throughout their mythology, a mysterious group appears repeatedly, the ones who remembered. Not priests, not kings, not warriors. Ordinary people who preserve knowledge. The astronomer watching the stars. The farmer tracking the floods. The scribe copying tablets. The healer keeping remedies alive. The craftsman teaching skills to children. These people carried civilization forward after each reset. AI analysis labeled them the continuity holders, the individuals who survived chaos by holding on to information, skills, and awareness. Sumerian texts say, "When great houses fall, the wise build small ones. When kingdoms burn, the wise protect the spark." It is not the powerful who rebuild. It is the prepared. The most disturbing symbol, the 8-point star. Among the thousands of symbols in Sumerian writing, one stands out, the 8-point star, often representing Inanna or Ishtar. But recent AI pattern comparison suggests the star meant something else when used in non-religious contexts. Cycle completion, a turning of ages, a reset. The star appears in flood tablets, collapse records, warnings about kings who grew corrupt, predictions about the future of humankind. AI couldn't translate its meaning directly, but it placed the symbol into a semantic category labeled event of unavoidable transition. In modern terms, it may mean a point where society cannot return to the way things were. Only forward, only different. One of the most overlooked Sumerian stories describes a time when the earth became too loud, filled with constant activity, trade, movement, and expansion. The gods decide to reduce mankind's noise with a catastrophe. The original interpretation, pure mythology. The AI interpretation, a poetic description of environmental overload, referring to deforestation, population surge, and resource exhaustion. The line that troubled researchers most was this: the earth grew tired before the people did. It's the same warning climate scientists give today, but carved into clay 5,000 years before any modern theory existed. A late Sumerian inscription from Uruk describes a future world where knowledge moves faster than people. Voices travel without bodies. Rulers see everything. People are linked like nets upon the water. For centuries, no one could interpret it. But AI translation framed it in modern terms. A warning about hyper-connected civilization. A world where everything is linked and everything can collapse together. Unlike ancient cities, where a failure was local, today's world is one interconnected system. To the AI model, this was the greatest global threat. After analyzing more than 20,000 Sumerian inscriptions and running predictive simulations, the AI concluded something chilling. The ancient Sumerians feared humanity's own intelligence more than natural disasters. They believed intellect without wisdom, technology without restraint, ambition without humility would bring about the fastest collapse, the kind that leaves no chance to prepare. One inscription from Nineveh captures this idea perfectly. Man mastered the chariot, the plow, the river, the harvest, but never mastered himself. And this is where their message to the future becomes direct. The tablet found in 2021, the message to the unborn, discovered near the ancient temple complex of Nippur, a smaller tablet, barely the size of a mobile phone, contained one of the most profound texts ever written. AI reconstruction filled in half its missing signs. The message reads like it was meant for a distant generation. When the world is full, when the cities shine at night, when the air tastes of metal, and the people forget the sky, remember us. For we lived this ending once before. This isn't myth. It's history repeating. A message carved by a civilization that already lived through collapse and renewal, and believed we would too. In 2024, researchers fed thousands of Sumerian, Akkadian, and Babylonian tablets into a neural net designed to identify repeating structural patterns. The AI generated a model of civilization cycles. What emerged was a timeline pattern shockingly similar to modern global systems. Stage 1, innovation, growth, discovery, expansion. Stage 2, consolidation. Cities flourish, writing improves, economies stabilize. Stage 3, excess. Wealth concentrates, inequality rises, resources dwindle. Stage 4, disruption. Environmental or political stress fractures society. Stage 5, collapse. A rapid, irreversible decline. The AI then ran a simulation using modern global data. The shocking result: the world today is sitting between Stage 3 and Stage 4. exactly where the Sumerians were before their collapse. But the most disturbing part is what the Sumerians said after collapse. The world will not end. It will begin again, quieter than before. This was not just a story. It was the blueprint of how human civilization resets itself. What they wanted us to learn. Across thousands of tablets, the same lessons repeat. Number 1. Don't ignore warnings. Civilizations fall when leaders silence truth. Number 2. Don't exhaust what cannot be replaced. They wrote about rivers drying, forests disappearing, soils failing. Number 3. Don't let power concentrate in a few hands. Sumer fell when kings became tyrants. Number 4. Don't lose connection to nature. They believed forgetting the natural cycles was the first step toward disaster. Number 5. Prepare quietly, early, and wisely. Rebuilders survive not because they are strong, but because they stay aware. The message to the future. AI's final reconstruction. When the AI system compiled every pattern, symbol, and warning, it generated a sentence summarizing the entire Sumerian worldview. A sentence that shocked the research team. Civilization ends when memory fails, not when buildings fall, not when farmers abandon fields, not when storms or wars break borders, but when people forget the lessons of the past. The Sumerians believed that knowledge is the lifeline stretching across ages, connecting one humanity to the next. If the line snaps, the cycle resets. So, what do the Sumerian tablets really warn us about? Not a coming flood, not an angry god, not a prophecy of doom, but something far more real. Humanity loses everything when it stops paying attention. Because civilizations are not destroyed by one big event. They crumble from thousands of small choices. The Sumerians watched it happen. They survived it. They rebuilt. And they left messages for those who would live thousands of years later. Messages written not for scholars, not for kings, not for priests, but for the people who would inherit the next turning of the cycle. Today, that is us. And the final Sumerian warning is not fear. It is instruction. If you remember what we learned, the cycle will not consume you. The final warning encoded in clay. In 2024, when AI reconstructed the missing sections of the Nippur warning tablet, one final line appeared, a line previously too damaged to decipher. The fall comes quickly, like a lamp knocked over in the night. But the rebuilding begins slowly, with those who kept their eyes open. This matches what archaeologists know. Civilizations collapse fast, but are rebuilt by the people who remain prepared. The Sumerians wanted the future to remember. Collapse is not the end. Only forgetting is.